Chapter 850. Some say that seeing is believing, but many times the eyes can deceive. Mo Qingdi's body was clearly in front, yet his spear was aimed at the distant afterimage. In a fight between experts, myriad changes occur in an instant. A single mistake could cause the entire game to be lost. As Mo Qingdi's spear was aimed at the distant afterimage, Li Nanxuan's body was also slashing at Mo Qingdi's head. There was an obsession in his heart that he must behead Mo Qingdi with his sword. This was something he had wanted to do many years ago. Whoosh! The spear was heavy and long, its tip pointed between the eyebrows of the afterimage. Pa! The afterimage emitted the sound of something exploding and disappeared in the air. At the same time, the afterimages created by the countless black dragons in the sky also exploded one after another, and then disappeared in the air as if they had never existed. That afterimage was the eye of the formation. It was the mechanism that controlled the countless afterimages. However, this did not mean that the afterimages had no offensive capabilities. With Li Nanxuan's strength, every afterimage he created was a real Li Nanxuan. If Mo Qingdi did not pierce the eye of the formation with his spear, if Mo Qingdi only stabbed at the real body and allowed the afterimages to approach, then every Li Nanxuan could have caused him fatal damage. Li Nanxuan's real body and the sword in his hand were bait, and also the real body. If you stabbed at the afterimage, his real body would give you a fatal blow. If you stabbed at the real body, then the afterimage formed by his majestic energy would give you unimaginable damage. This was the so-called double kill in Neijiang Lake. This was an open and above-board trap. Even if you knew his intentions, there was no way you could make a better choice. Moreover, many people would be confused by his real body. When they aimed at the real body to counterattack, the afterimages would tear them into countless pieces. Explosions rang around him and all the afterimages disappeared. Black Dragon Song Nanxuan did not feel worried at all. On the contrary, there was a hint of delight in his heart. Mo Qingdi, you don't know what a stupid mistake you have made. Do you think I am the same as I was in the past? Years ago, Dark Dragon Song Nanxuan used this move, the dragon dives into the deep sea, to kill Mo Qingdi. As a result, Mo Qingdi's spear pierced through his cheek. That time, Mo Qingdi had similarly located the eye of the formation. Then he first used the tip of his spear to pierce through the eye of the formation, breaking through all of the black dragon's illusionary barriers. Then he spun the spear around and pierced through the black dragon's cheek. This time he would not make such a mistake. Song Nanxuan's body suddenly disappeared into thin air. This was the result of him raising his speed to the extreme. When he reappeared, the sword in his hand was the first to appear. The silvery sword of light left a burning shadow in the air, and then it slashed towards Mo Qingdi's throat. It was as fast as lightning, but it was still not fast enough. In the eyes of the spectators, it was as if Mo Qingdi's head would be separated from his neck in the next moment. Don't underestimate the enemy, die. Song Nan was about to get his revenge. His voice was filled with excitement. Whoosh! Li Nanxuan slashed down with his sword. His long sword sliced through Mo Qingdi's head. Yes, it sliced through. Because when his sword was about to fall, Missouri Qingdi twisted his body at the same time. After Mo Qingdi's spear pierced through the afterimage, his body had already begun to change shape. Then he spun the spear around once again. This scene was as if the two of them had performed it countless times. Their coordination was so smooth and tacit. It was the same character from back then, the same technique, the same plot development. But there was a different result. Last time, Mo Qingdi pierced through the black dragon Li Nanxuan's cheek, leaving a scar and humiliation that could never be erased. This time Mo Qingdi pierced through his heart. The spear pierced through the body. From the chest to the back, a stream of blood flowed along the shaft of the spear towards the tip. Until now, not a single drop of blood had dripped onto the ground. Perhaps this was the only thing that Li Nanxuan felt gratified about. He had said that he was not the same person from back then, and that he would not make the same mistake again. He had done it. Mo Qingdi. Li Nanxuan's eyes widened, his face full of disbelief as he looked at Mo Qingdi. He believed that he had improved a lot over the years, but why was Mo Qingdi, who had wasted so many years, still ahead above him? This was illogical. It shouldn't be like this, it shouldn't be like this. There is one thing that you don't know. Mo Qingdi understood what he was thinking and explained aloud. What thing? Li Nanxuan was indeed curious. Mo Qingdi pointed at the little transparent dog in the distance and said, It runs very fast. So I ran faster and faster with it. The same technique as before. You've improved a lot, but I only improved one. I run faster than before, much faster, Emoching said softly. I can't accept this. The black dragon Li Nanshuan's mouth began to overflow with blood. His internal organs were already ruptured and he shouted through gritted teeth. I can't accept this. That's what I thought back then. I've shouted this sentence countless times. Emoching said in a sorrowful voice. He remembered the time when he lived in the Fong family's courtyard. At that time he refused to socialize with anyone, drowning his sorrows in alcohol every day, not daring to think about anything related to himself. He went from the glorious green dragon Emoching to an old drunkard that people despised and despised. How could he accept this? The only warmth he had was the Fong family. It was the Fong family that gave him tolerance and understanding, the care and concern they gave him. If it weren't for them, he probably wouldn't have lasted until now. Just when I had decided to give up and accept my fate, something like that happened at home, so I could only force myself. I forced myself to go out and walk to a place where there was no one. At that time I did have the thought of running away. If I couldn't return home in glory, then let me be buried in the Snow Kingdom. But in the end I still found a chance. This is fate. I can't accept this. The black dragon Li Nanshuan retreated. As he retreated, the spear in Emoching's hand was also pulled out bit by bit. He swayed, roared, and shouted again and again, I can't accept this. He walked straight past Fong Yen, past Yi Rou, past the little transparent dog. He wanted to go back, wanted to go down the mountain. When he reached the edge of the cliff, his foot slipped and his head fell towards the cliff. A heaven's favorite fell just like that. Fong Yen and Yi Rou walked to the edge of the cliff and looked down at the bottomless canyon shrouded in clouds and mist. Fong Yen sighed softly and said, He's really dead. He's really dead. Yi Rou said. It was impossible to survive a fall like that. Even if the current Fong Yen jumped in, he wouldn't be able to survive. There was a wound on Emoching's neck that was cut by the sword. The wound was oozing blood. Fong Yen took out a medicine bottle from his pocket and was about to apply medicine on Emoching. But he didn't expect that when Emoching squatted down, the little transparent dog ran over, wagging its tail, and stuck out its tongue to lick Emoching's wound. Seeing the surprised look in Fong Yan's eyes, Emoching explained calmly, It grew up eating countless treasures. The saliva and blood in its body all contain strong medicinal properties. Not only can its saliva heal wounds, but it will also not leave any scars after the wound is healed. Fong Yen was overjoyed. He quickly ran in front of Emoching, tore open his clothes, and pointed at the big and small wounds that were painstakingly cut by the dragon god. He said, Can you let it help me lick them too? Pfft. The transparent puppy looked at Fong Yen in disgust, then spat a mouthful of saliva on his face. Fong Yen wanted to fight it again. Crack. The teapot in Shifu's hand fell to the ground. He looked at the tigress standing in front of him, his lips moving but no words came out. He exerted more effort before an indistinct voice could be heard. What you said, is it all true? Absolutely true. The tigress's expression was also very ugly. I've sent people to watch the scene. If there's any news, they'll come to me. Moreover, this matter has already spread. I heard that someone saw the dragon god painstakingly ordering the master and disciple to go down the mountain. The dragon god painstakingly admitted that he lost to Fong Yen. Then what about Fong Yen? Old Master Jiang tried hard to calm himself down. At this time the Jiang family could not panic. Otherwise there would be no chance at all. Is Fong Yen injured? I haven't heard. The tigress's answer was a little hesitant. This battle was very covert, no one saw it with their own eyes. Whether or not Fong Yen was injured is just everyone's guess. Just a guess. Old Master Jiang's hand trembled slightly and said, Just a good guess. I didn't think the worst thing would still happen. Master, what else is there? Emoching is back. The tigress carefully looked at Old Master Jiang in front of her, worried that if she said too much, it would stimulate the old man's heart. He's back. I heard that he found Ice Dragon in the land of extreme frost. He brought Ice Dragon back to Yen capital and rushed to the scene of the battle. Mr. Black Dragon appeared as well. The Divine Dragon and Black Dragon are fellow disciples. They were prepared to join forces to destroy Fong Yen and Yi Gentle. But at this critical moment, Emoching appeared with Ice Dragon. I heard. What else did you hear? I heard that he stabbed Mr. Black Dragon to death with one spear strike. The tigress said timidly. Jiang Shifu remained silent for a long time. He had specially met Black Dragon before the competition and promised him great rewards. He had even placed his bets on him. 2 Heavenly Dao realm experts against 1 Fong Yen, and even if Yi Gentle was added, their side would still be able to secure victory. With Fong Yen and Yi Gentle dead, the Fong family would also fall apart. What was there to be afraid of? A family with 3 Heavenly Dao? Old Master Jiang Shifu's voice was inaudible, as though it came from the cracks in the floorboards. Their Fong family is full of Heavenly Dao. Chapter 851. Their Fong family is filled with the Heavenly Dao? The female tigress did not know how to answer Grandfather Zhang's question, although she did not feel that it was her fault for being inarticulate. She could comfort him by saying, "No, the Fong family is not filled with the Heavenly Dao. At the very least, Fong Yan's grandfather and Fong Yan's mother are not at the Heavenly Dao realm." However, could such words really have the effect of comforting him? This will be the greatest disaster the Jiang family has ever faced. Grandfather Jiang Shifu clearly had no intention of letting the female tigress answer his question. His head hung low as though he had suffered a heavy blow. The outcome of this battle had exceeded everyone's expectations, and it was truly unacceptable. "Master, is there no other solution?" the female tigress asked. "Even if the Fong family has the 3 Heavenly Dao, do you think they can come to our Jiang family and start a massacre? Wuxia is a society governed by law. If anything happens to the Jiang family, they will not be able to escape responsibility." Jiang Shifu looked up at the female tigress and asked, "Do you understand Fong Yen?" The female tigress thought for a moment and said, "No." "I do," Grandfather Jiang Shifu said in a deep voice. "He has the intelligence of a fox and the viciousness of a wolf. As long as he is given a chance, he will mercilessly bite off his opponent's neck. If the Jiang family were to land in his hands, do you think he would give them a way out? With such a pack of wolves stalking them, will the Jiang family have any good days in the future? From time to time, one of the descendants of the general family would lose an arm or a leg. How could they go up to them and demand justice? In the long run, the only path the Jiang family can take is to be annihilated. There will always be a way." The female tigress said, "Gentlemen, you should also take action. There will always be a way to repress him. Don't tell me they can be lawless now?" "That's right." Jiang Shifu nodded and said, "Their Fong family can't be lawless. It's precisely at this time that Fong Yen has to keep a low profile. He knows the principle of shooting the bird that pokes its head out, but I wish he didn't know about military operations. I have no idea where eldest young master went. I called him but he didn't answer," the female tigress said. "Forget it. I can't count on him." The descendants of the general family all looked like dragons and phoenixes among men when things were going smoothly for them. Once they encountered a setback, they would show their true colors and would not be able to hold up the pillar. Can I be at ease in trusting the Jiang family to such a person? The tigress didn't dare to get involved in such a topic. "Gather everyone in the family for a meeting," Jiang Shifu said aloud. "I asked you to visit Xianxia in Huaqing. What happened?" Miss Xianxia said that she has been very busy recently. "Once she is done with her work, she will definitely make time to visit you, Master. Miss Xianxia even prepared a large number of gifts for me to bring out for you and the other uncles." "You're polite and well-mannered. That's impressive." Jiang Shifu cracked a rare smile and said, "It wasn't easy for her. If she had come to Yanjing to see this old man at that time, I'm afraid that bastard Fong Yen would have reconsidered his attitude towards her. In the past, no one would have thought that the future of the Jiang family would fall into the hands of this little girl." "Master, what do you mean?" "I don't mean anything. This is what everyone wants." Jiang Shifu waved his hands and said, "Time makes the hero. Now that things have developed to this stage, I think they should understand the severity of the matter. Go, let me sit alone for a while. I'm afraid there won't be many opportunities like this in the future." "Yes, Master. Master." The tigress replied and left respectfully. When the sound of the tigress' footsteps faded away, Jiang Shifu stared at the broken porcelain cup on the ground in a daze. How many years had it been since he had been so flustered and at a loss like today? When did the story start? It should have started from a very insignificant matter. It was so insignificant that he couldn't remember what exactly it was. However, wasn't it those insignificant things that changed history as a prelude? The dignified Jiang family was going to fall into the hands of the Fong family, who had one of the three heavenly Dao. Fong Yan, are you the nemesis of the Jiang family? Some people were sad while others were happy. This was the happiest day for the Fong family in years. Ever since Fong Yixing died at the entrance of Swallow's Dock, the word smile had become more and more distant from the Fong family. When the old drunkard took his spear and left for the land of extreme cold, he dragged the Fong family into an icy abyss. Even if there were people smiling, the smile was bitter and it would disappear as soon as it was released. It had never been as comfortable as today, as if every laugh came from the depths of the bones. Fortunately, there was Fong Yan. Whether it was the tragic death of his father or the departure of the old drunkard, he was always there. In his own way, he kept the Fong family from falling and kept the Fong family from being destroyed. Fong Yan's persistence was meaningful. He had finally seen the rebirth of the Fong family. Lu Wan looked up and down at Mo Qingdi and said with blame, "Your complexion is fine, but you look a little thin. And the clothes you're wearing, they're dirty and smelly and you didn't wash them. What animal's fur are they made of? Take them off quickly, I'll get some clothes for you to wear." "Thank you, sister-in-law," Mo Qingdi said gratefully. "We're a family, no need to be so polite." Lu Wan's eyes were red and she said, "It's good that you're back." Fong Hui's face was red. He obviously didn't drink a drop of wine today, but now he looked like he had drunk half a liter. "Yes, it's good that you're back. It's good that you're back. I never dreamed that our Fong family would have such a day. We were about to fall and the people were about to disperse, but now there's a glimmer of hope at the end of the tunnel." "Great is great. In a few days, Fong Yan and Wen Raowen will get married, and our Fong family will have another member. 3 heavenly ways, this is something that has never been heard of for thousands of years. We didn't even dare to think about it before. When Qing Di first stepped into the heavenly ways, our village celebrated for a week, and our Fong family secretly celebrated for a month. Do you remember? How many chickens did we kill at that time? How many did we kill? This is the manifestation of our ancestors. I'm afraid they're grinning from ear to ear now. This time our family must have a good celebration. On Fong Yan's wedding day, invite everyone we can and call everyone we can. Our Fong family has been in decline for so many years. It's time for us to be high profile." "It's all up to you." Mo Qingdi nodded and said. He respected this teacher of his very much. "Do whatever you want. You don't have to worry about this. I know what to do," Fong Hui said with a smile. He looked at Mo Qingdi with a face full of affection and said, "It's been hard on you all these years, living alone in that cold and treacherous place. It's not hard. With Ice Dragon taking care of me, I lived a good life there." Mo Qingdi had to bring up Ice Dragon again. Before he had met Ice Dragon, his life had indeed been very difficult. It had nothing to do with the level of your martial arts, but it was difficult to find food because you were not familiar with the terrain. Eating a mouse was a delicacy, not to mention those delicious sashimi and ice spring fruits. It was also because he ate so many of those things that his body recovered so quickly, and his body that had been abandoned for so many years could be revitalized in the shortest time possible. Yes, Ice Dragon is the benefactor of our Fong family. He came from afar and I'm afraid he's not used to our climate and living habits here. In the future, everyone must take good care of him and let him feel at home. When Fong Hui's eyes swept over Ice Dragon, he found that Fong Yan and Ice Dragon were staring at each other, neither willing to give in to the other. "Fong Yan, what are you doing?" Fong Hui shouted. "You're already a master of the water overflow state. Why are you still arguing with a dog?" "Grandpa, he's not an ordinary dog, he's Ice Dragon." Fong Yan also felt strange. Why was Ice Dragon close to everyone in the family but only him? When he was at the top of Fong Mountain, he noticed Ice Dragon's strangeness. At that time, Fong Yan didn't think much of it and simply thought that they didn't get along. When he returned home after defeating the 2 dragons at the top of Fong Mountain and obtaining the Dragon Balls, this little transparent dog fawned on his grandfather Fong Hui and mother Lu Wan in every possible way, shaking its head and acting cute from time to time. However, it was indifferent to him and from time to time spat him with its saliva. Fong Yan really wanted to have a good talk with it. It wasn't good for this little guy to be so rebellious at such a young age, right? "I know it's Ice Dragon." Fong Hui also knew that he had misspoken just now. It was clearly his family's benefactor. How could he call it a dog? It was all because it looked too much like a dog. Ice Dragon is a distinguished guest of our family, so you have to take good care of it and find a way to satisfy its needs. Also, the responsibility of taking care of Ice Dragon will be handed over to you in the future. You're the most suitable person for this matter. Grandpa doesn't like me. Isn't it inappropriate for me to take care of it? It's precisely because it doesn't like you that it wants you to take good care of it. Why doesn't it like you? Isn't it because you don't like it? Fang Yan, you have to treat this matter as an important task. If I see you bullying Ice Dragon, I won't forgive you. Fang Yan wanted to run away from home again. He felt that his status in the family was lower than that of a dog. At this moment, Mr. walked in from outside. Seeing Mo Qingdi standing in the living room, he squinted his eyes and smiled, saying, "Qingdi, you're back?" "Mr." Mo Qingdi bowed and greeted Mr. "It's good that you're back." Mr. patted him on the shoulder and said with a smile. He walked straight to Fang Hui's side and sat down, saying, "The children are back. Are you happy now?" "But Yixing can't come back," Fang Hui said in a sorrowful voice. Lu Wan's eyes became moist again. On such a festive day, how good it would be if Yixing was still alive. Chapter 852. Old Master Fang Hui suddenly mentioned that his son Fang Yixing would never come back. The atmosphere in the room suddenly became heavy. The smile on everyone's face disappeared. Everyone's face was filled with nostalgia and sorrow. Only the little transparent dog shook its head and looked around, not knowing what had happened. Fang Yan walked over and held Lu Wan's shoulder. "Mom, today is a happy day. My dad knows in the afterlife. He definitely doesn't want you to be sad for him. If he saw you like this, he would be sad too, right?" Lu Wan wiped her tears and said, "I'll go to the kitchen and make something delicious for you at noon." After that, she quickly walked to the backyard. Looking at Lu Wan's back as she hurried away, Old Master Fang Hui sighed softly. Lu Wan has suffered. Yixing is not here anymore. I advised her to find another person to accompany her. She's still young and a lifetime is so long. He doesn't want to. She's a good child. The teacher praised. Our swallow dog is a family of martial arts. It's rare to see a child like Lu Wan who was raised by an aristocratic family. Don't be fooled by his gentle and weak appearance, he's actually very stubborn. Yes. But if she's too stubborn, won't she suffer? Old Master Fang Hui sighed. The teacher took the tea that Fang Yan handed over and took a sip. He squinted at Old Master Fang Hui and said, "You shut people up the moment you speak. You've made the atmosphere like this. How can I talk to you as a lobbyist?" Fang Hui looked at the teacher and said, "You're the teacher of Swallow Dog. Everyone has to listen to what you say. Speak. Let's see what the Jiang family wants." The teacher sighed and said, "Why bother? Why did things have to end up like this for no reason? Jiang Shifu called me and said that the two families can sit down and talk peacefully." "Talk peacefully? How?" Fang Hui sneered. "Why didn't they think of talking to our family before? Are you calling us now to talk to us? Besides, my son is gone. Can he make up for the loss of our Fang family?" His thick eyebrows danced as he clenched his fists. In the end, Old Master Fang Hui was really angry. The white-haired person sending off the black-haired person, this kind of pain would be difficult to diminish no matter how much time passed. The teacher looked at Fang Hui and said, "Jiang Shifu asked me to bring you a message. He said that their condition is, the Fang family can set the conditions." The man turned to look at Fang Yan and asked with a smile, "Won't you consider it?" "Grandpa will decide everything," Fang Yan said with a smile. The teacher nodded, put down the teacup in his hand and said, "Today is a joyous day for your Fang family and you should celebrate it well. I'll take my leave first. I don't want to be a nuisance here." "Let's have a drink at noon," Fang Hui said. "Forget it. You are not sincere," the teacher said with a smile. He patted Mo Qingdi on the shoulder and strode outside. Fang Yan sent Mr. out and the little transparent dog wagged its tail and followed. The teacher glanced at the little transparent dog and asked, "Is this the legendary ice dragon? Don't you think it looks like a dog?" The little transparent dog seemed to like the teacher very much, running over and rubbing its head against the teacher's thigh. The teacher laughed out loud and reached out to pat the ice dragon's head and said, "Jiang Shifu said that your family has 3 heavenly Dao, but I say, how can it be 3 heavenly Dao? It's clearly 4 heavenly Dao. This is the biggest event in Swallow Fort in the past 1,000 years. We should have held a celebration for you, but your marriage with Miss Yi will only last for 2 days, so we might as well hold the two happy events together. All right, I'll listen to you, sir, Fang Yan answered without hesitation. Sly. The teacher patted the little transparent dog's head and said, the Fang family are all sly and sly, don't be influenced by them. Mo Qingdi had returned and Fang Yan had entered the water overflow realm. Most importantly, Fang Yan was going to marry a heavenly Dao realm wife. This made Fang Hui overjoyed. Fang Hui prepared to pay his respects to his ancestors. He felt that the Fang family's present glory was all thanks to the blessings of the Fang family's ancestors and Fang Yan's father, Fang Yixing. Fang Hui knelt on a mat, while Fang Yan and Mo Qingdi as well as Fang Yan's uncles and uncles knelt behind him. The door to the ancestral hall was tightly shut. The Fang family's womenfolk were not allowed to enter. The Fang family has only one heir and their numbers are sparse. Every time I think of it, I'm alarmed. I'm worried that the Fang family's bloodline will be severed, and I'll be the greatest sinner of the Fang family. 100 deaths won't absolve me. All suffering will eventually vanish, and the Fang family's descendants will once again rise to prominence. Fang Yan is about to marry Miss Ye's gentle daughter, and the Fang family will soon have a son. Qingdi has also returned from the land of extreme frost and he even brought back a dog. That dog is an ice dragon. Fang Yan and Mo Qingdi looked at each other, then Fang Yan whispered, does this count as adding a son to the Fang family? Now you know why even the dog hates you, right? While Yi Ro was reading in her room, someone knocked on the door from the outside. Come in, Yi Ro called out. She thought it was Yi Fengxing because he was usually the most diligent in coming here. Creak. The wooden door was pushed open from the outside and Yi Dawen walked in with a smile on his face. Dad, Yi Ro didn't expect it to be her father, so she hurriedly stood up to greet him. Are you reading? Yi Dawen asked. Don't always stay in the study, go out when you have nothing to do. Isn't Fang Yan back? Why don't you go out for a walk and chat with him? You're about to become his wife. You should communicate more to improve your relationship with him. Yi Ro looked at her father with a surprised expression. She didn't expect her father to say something like this. Didn't he always disagree with the marriage between me and Fang Yan? Even this engagement, Master personally came to be the matchmaker, and the great ancestor personally agreed, so he had no choice but to agree. Did the sun rise from the west today? Yi Dawen knew what his daughter was thinking and awkwardly coughed twice and said, Fang Yan is a good child, I watched him grow up. He's very smart, very talented, and the most rare thing is that he's filial. It's not that I don't like him. It's just that the Fang family's luck has been too bad these years, and if you go there you'll probably suffer. Especially in the recent period, whether Fang Yan could even survive was a problem. Don't tell me you want to marry over and become a living widow? You like Fang Yan, so you have your own persistence. But you're my daughter, I can't push you into the pit of fire. As your father, I also have my own persistence. Thankfully, Fang Yan survived and Mo Qingdi has returned as well. This is a joyous occasion for the Fang family and it's also a good thing for you. If you were to marry over at this time, your life would be better. Our Yi family doesn't covet the Fang family's money. Our Yi family has money. Our Yi family also doesn't covet the Fang family's power. Our Yi family has more power than the Fang family. I don't covet anything from Fang Yan, be it the heavenly Dao realm or the water overflow realm. These are important but also very unimportant. I only hope that he can live well and treat my daughter well. That's the most important thing. Yi Dawen waved his hand indicating for Yi Ro to sit down and said, read well, it's time to eat in a while. Dad, Yi Ro called out softly. Yi Dawen turned and asked, what's the matter? I've never doubted you, Yi Ro said. Yi Dawen smiled warmly, opened the wooden door and walked out. Yi Ro sat back in her chair, but she was no longer in the mood to read. At the foot of the dark mountain, there were a few black off-road vehicles parked. In a Toyota, a man with his hands and feet tied up was struggling desperately. His mouth was sealed with tape, so even if he screamed himself hoarse he couldn't make a sound. His feet were also tied up, so he could only kick the seat of the car with his legs tied together. Bang bang bang. A series of dull thuds could be heard, but no one reacted to it. The man's eyes were filled with despair. Gotcha. The car door was pulled open and a man shrouded in a black robe stood at the door. He looked at the kidnapped man with a deep gaze, and after a moment of thought he reached out and tore off the tape on his mouth. You deserve to die. After the man gasped for air a few times, he opened his mouth and said such vicious words. In the past you were like a dog with nowhere to go. I was the only one who didn't despise you and kept you by my side, but you actually dared to betray me. Do you know what you're doing? Do you think they'll forgive you by doing this? Let me tell you, it's impossible. You don't understand Feng Yan, so you don't know what he'll do. He's much more vicious than I am. He'll kill everyone who has offended him. Do you think you still have a way to live? Without it, the only thing left for you is death. You're the same, the black-robed man spoke in a low voice. You're the same as me. We still have more choices. The man looked at the black-robed man and said, if you let me go, the Jiang family will give you a large sum of money. It'll be more money than you can imagine. Go out, don't stay in this country anymore, go to a place where no one can find you. Change your face, you can live a life that everyone envies. It's already begun, the black-robed man said. You'll command them to kidnap Xianxia. Are you crazy? Do you think people will believe this? Why would I do something like this at a time like this? This is clearly suicide, a suicide attack. What you see with your own eyes isn't necessarily the truth, the black-robed man spoke in a low voice. But who cares? Chapter 853. The winter in Yanjing was getting colder and colder. With every breath, one could see a large cloud of white air rolling in front of them. The white air condensed into ice as soon as it came out, and the saliva that was left at the corner of the mouth turned into fine ice shards. It's going to snow, the old man said after looking at the distant skyline. The weather forecast predicted that it would snow a few days ago, but the first snowflake hadn't been seen until now. However, no one took its forecast seriously. After all, being accurate was the purpose of its long-term persistence. Xianxia, wrapped in a Tibetan-patterned blanket, stood by the railing and looked at the ridge hidden in the cold and gloomy sky. Mu Ying came over with a cup of tea and said, Miss, it's cold in the mountains. You should go back to your room and rest. Xianxia took the hot tea and shook his head. I suddenly had some expectations, so I wanted to come out and have a look. You can stand with me for a while. The show is going to start soon anyway. Miss, Mu Ying seemed to want to say something but stopped. You don't trust him, do you? Xianxia didn't even need to observe Mu Ying's expression to know what he was worried about. Miss, you shouldn't trust him either, Mu Ying said in a deep voice. What if he doesn't come? What if he brings people to the Jiang family, or somewhere else? Instead, he will become a huge threat. He will definitely come, Xianxia said. Why are you so sure, miss? Because he doesn't live for himself now but for his family, Xianxia said calmly. The real him died a long time ago. I see. Mu Ying nodded. But there's still no movement outside. It will start soon, Xianxia said. Go and check again. It's just a formality, so there's no need to act too real. Also, be careful not to hurt our own people. I've already arranged everything and borrowed 2 groups of people from the madam, Mu Ying said with a smile. Now we're just waiting to catch the turtle in the jar. No, it's waiting for the rabbit, Xianxia corrected him. Bang! The first gunshot shook the silent night in the mountain forest, and then the gunshots came one after another. They're here. Mu Ying's eyes lit up. He didn't panic. Instead, he felt a throbbing of joy. Go! Xianxia said aloud. Miss, you need someone to protect you, Mu Ying said with a smile. Have you forgotten him? Xianxia said with a smile. With him here, I'll be fine. Go, you still have to take charge of the situation. It would be best if he could make 1 or 2 cuts on his face to add a little more authenticity to the performance. Mu Ying knew that the eldest miss was protected by a mysterious expert. Even he had never seen the true body of this expert. It was said that his strength was unfathomable, and he was a hidden pawn used by Old Master Qin. It was also after Xianxia was attacked in Huaqing that Old Master Qin gave his secret chess piece to Xianxia. With his protection in the dark, those people would not be able to hurt Xianxia. Mu Ying nodded and said, Then I'll go. I don't think they'll be able to leave alive in front of Mississippi. After saying that, Mu Ying's tall body disappeared into the black shadow behind him. He felt a trace of coldness in the middle of his eyebrows, as if he had been lightly bitten by an ant. Xianxia stretched out his right hand and waited in the air for a moment. Then a transparent white flower appeared in his palm. The thin figure of the little flower instantly melted, and then turned into a drop of ice-cold snow water. "It's snowing," Xianxia said softly. The gunshots were still going on. The battle was about to ignite, and the killing had entered the most tragic stage. Blood. There was a constant stream of bright red blood flowing out. The dark cement floor, the vermilion gate, the precious grass and trees, the mottled fine sand and the gravel between the eaves. Blood was spreading everywhere. This was a premeditated massacre. Several men in black passed through the layers of sentries and arrived at the gate of the villa. Some of them were experienced and they quickly opened the gate. Then a group of men in black quickly rushed in. When the first gunshot sounded, their faces were still filled with doubt and confusion. When they came in, they had received orders that this area was a high-end villa area. The people who could live here were either rich or powerful and they must not alarm outsiders. Their task was to kidnap the woman in the villa and quickly leave the scene. No matter who, no matter what reason, no one was allowed to use a gun. However, they had just come in. Why did someone break the rules? When they saw the body of one of their companions fall to the ground with a bang, they understood the cause of the matter. They were not the ones who used the gun, but the bodyguards who guarded the villa. Their whereabouts had been discovered. When their companions kept falling to the ground, no matter which direction they fled in, they would be blocked by the corresponding bullets. Only then did they realize that this was a trap. The hostage they wanted to kidnap had already set up an inescapable net in this courtyard to catch them all in one fell swoop. Who leaked the news? When their bodies were lying on the cold floor of the courtyard, when their blood was flowing out of their bodies, their eyes were wide open and they could not figure out the answer to this question. The second group of men in black did not enter the courtyard. They were lying in ambush in the woods at the entrance. Hearing the gunshots in the courtyard, one of the men in black said anxiously, "It's not our weapon. There's an ambush in the courtyard." "Russian," the man in black standing at the front said aloud. "What?" The man in black was shocked and said, "There's an ambush in the courtyard. Why do we still have to rush in? Shouldn't we retreat now?" "Because I said to let you in, so you have to go in." "Leader, if we rush in now, we will die." "Yes." The man in black said, "I want you to die." "Leader." The man in black reached for the pistol in his arms. Screech. A silver light flashed and the man in black's movements came to an abrupt halt. A thin red line appeared on his throat. The thin line began to thicken, then spread downwards and finally became a red river. When he felt an itch there and wanted to reach out to cover it, his body was already out of control and he fell backward powerlessly. Seeing this, the other men in black prepared to counterattack. The silver light flashed continuously. Clang, the man sheathed his sword. Only then did the men in black lay on the ground one by one. Apart from the muffled thuds when they fell to the ground, almost no one screamed or called for help. "We're going to die anyway." The man in black's voice was a bit dejected. He looked up at the floating white flowers in the sky and murmured, "It's snowing. So beautiful." This was destined to be a restless night. It was also the beginning of another big battle. When the first heavy snow of the year fell in Beijing, a murder occurred in a high-end residential area. No, it should be said that it was a failed kidnapping case. A certain terrorist group wanted to kidnap the little princess of the Qin family, Xianxia. Fortunately, Xianxia was heavily guarded, and his bodyguards fought fiercely to defeat the kidnappers and protect the little princess. Because the incident happened in a high-end residential area, and there were gunshots and screams, the fighting and killing alerted quite a few people. It was impossible to hide something like this, so it was already widely spread in a certain circle on the night of the incident. In the end, it even alerted the higher-ups and became a topic of conversation after tea. I heard that group of people were very powerful, quite a few of them were martial arts masters. How powerful? Is Dragon God that lucky? Dragon God's hard life was defeated by someone else. I heard it was done by the Jiang family. An important member of the Jiang family was captured alive by the Qin family. Shu, you can't tell anyone about this. The outside world was full of rumors, but only a few people knew the truth of the matter. The Jiang family. Old man Jiang Shifu stood in the courtyard wearing a fur coat. His boots were almost covered in snow, but he still stood there without moving as if he had turned into an ice sculpture. The Jiang family's children surrounded him, constantly comforting him and even begging him to enter the house. If this continued, the old man's body wouldn't be able to take it. "Dad, you should go in." Jiang Fengyi held the old man's arm and said, "It's too cold today. You've been standing here for half an hour, you'll freeze." Old man Jiang didn't move. He looked up at the snowflakes floating in the sky, but there was no focus in his eyes. "Dad, we know you feel bad, but now that the Jiang family is in trouble, we should work together to think of a solution. How can you hurt your body like this?" "Yeah, Dad, let's go back. There's no such thing as a bad luck in this world, we can always think of a way." "You can't take the cold anymore?" Old man Jiang Shifu finally spoke. His voice was calm but full of mockery. "We Jiang family are becoming more and more delicate. No wonder we were forced to this step. When you were young, I made you read the ancestral behest. You did read it, but it didn't seem to have any effect. Born in a rich family, who can remember the hardships of the Jiang family? After living a good life for so long, who still has a sense of crisis?" "Dad," Jiang Shifu waved his hand and said, "Prepare the carriage. I'll go to the Qin family to ask for forgiveness." Chapter 854. The first snowfall in Yanjing was ferocious, and it seemed like it wouldn't stop. It had been snowing since last night until this afternoon, which meant that it stopped for about an hour at dawn. Then God went back to work without rest. As the snow got heavier, there were fewer people on the streets. The untrodden snowflakes covered the pitch-black concrete floor like a gorgeous velvet carpet. Creak. A black car stopped at the intersection of the old street, the wheels rolling up the ice on the ground making a crunching sound. Clang. The car door opened and Fang Yan, wearing a light-colored suit, got out of the car. Yi Fengxing turned his head from the driver's seat and said, "Brother-in-law, should I go in with you?" "No need," Fang Yan refused. "You can't park here, so you stay in the car. If you see the police coming to copy the license plate, drive away." "Okay," Yi Fengxing agreed helplessly. "Brother-in-law, be careful." Fang Yan smiled and said, "Did you forget? I'm at the water overflow state now. But I still need to keep a low profile and don't go around showing off." Ice Dragon, who got out of the car, spat at Fang Yan, then immediately wagged its tail and happily ran into the crystal world of ice and snow. Ice Dragon liked snow. Although the snow in Yanjing wasn't as heavy as it was in the Arctic and the weather wasn't as cold, it was still better than not seeing any snowflakes. Ever since the old man handed the responsibility of taking care of Ice Dragon to Fang Yan had almost never been separated from the dog. When he was ready to go out today, Ice Dragon had already gotten into the car. Fang Yan wanted to drive it out, but Fang Hui yelled at the top of his voice, "It wants to go out for a breath of fresh air, so take it out for a walk. This poor child wants to see snow, can't you satisfy its wish?" Yi Fengxing liked Ice Dragon very much. Seeing Ice Dragon spitting at Fang Yan, he couldn't help but laugh and said, "I just find it strange, why does it always have something against you? Is this the legendary family that can't tolerate two dogs? Do you believe that I won't cut off the fat on your body piece by piece to make twice-cooked pork?" Fang Yan glared at Yi Fengxing coldly and said, "A slip of the tongue, a slip of the tongue. I was going to say that two tigers cannot live on the same mountain." Fang Yan brushed off the snowflakes on his shoulder and said, "I'll be right back." After that, Fang Yan lifted his feet and walked toward the familiar noodle house. Before he got close, he heard a girl's cheerful voice coming from inside. "Brother, don't say that I'm fat. Girls nowadays don't like to be fat. Besides, I'm not fat at all. Recently, I've been exercising to lose weight. Brother, where have you been all these years? We couldn't get in touch with you. I knew you must have gone to do something very important." I asked Grandpa and he said the same thing. "Brother, have you ever been in a relationship? I thought the next time we met, you would bring me a sister-in-law. Brother, why are you looking at me like that? Did I say something wrong?" Fang Yan could tell that it was the voice of the girl, Bai Jia. Her long-lost relatives suddenly appeared in front of her. She must be very happy, right? The words that she had hidden in her heart for a few years were like water that had been released from a sluice gate and flowed out continuously. All these years of longing, doubts, and grievances, she finally found someone she could confide in. However, this kind of life was very short. "Brother, you won't leave again after you come back, right?" Bai Jia suddenly asked. Fang Yan thought for a moment and walked into the noodle house at this time. There were no customers in the noodle house. There was only a man in a woolen suit and a girl in a white sweater sitting opposite each other at a table. Because the atmosphere in the noodle house was very ambiguous, the girl did not wear a coat. The tight-fitting sweater wrapped around her exquisite figure and had the unique health and vitality of a young girl. The girl was staring at her brother's face, wanting to know an answer. When she heard the glass door open, she looked up and immediately jumped up in surprise. She ran over and pulled Fang Yan's arm and shouted, "Brother Fang Yan, why are you here? Can't I come?" Fang Yan looked at the girl's blushing face and asked with a smile, "Of course you can come. It's good to come every day. I just think it's strange that it's snowing so heavily outside." Bai Jie's eyes were full of smiles. It could be seen that she liked Fang Yan from the bottom of her heart. "I will come to see you often," Fang Yan said with a smile. Fang Yan's eyes crossed Bai Jie and collided with the man sitting at the table. The man stood up, rubbed his hands, looked at Fang Yan and said, "What do you want to eat?" "A bowl of sour noodle soup," Fang Yan said. "But my grandpa is not at home." The girl said awkwardly, "How about I make it for you? It's my blessing to be able to eat Miss Bai's noodle soup. My cooking isn't as good as grandpa's. You can't laugh at me," the girl said with a blushing face. She walked quickly to the kitchen and said, "Brother, I'll make you a bowl of noodle soup too." "Thank you." The man had a gentle smile on his face and looked at Bai Jie with eyes full of doting and pity. When Bai Jie left, the man looked at Fang Yan, made an inviting gesture and said, "Sit down." Fang Yan sat down and the man sat opposite Fang Yan, just like the sitting posture of Bai Jie and him just now. "If I knew that your family runs a noodle shop and that your noodles are so delicious, our relationship wouldn't have become like this," Fang Yan said aloud. "If I knew that, I would have helped Grandpa take care of this noodle shop at home," the man whispered. Fang Yan looked at the man in surprise and said, "That's good. If you open a noodle shop when there are customers, you will get up and make a bowl of noodles for them. When there are no customers, you will make a plate of peanuts to go with the wine. It's a world of ice and snow outside, but it's as warm as summer inside. This kind of life is really comfortable and comfortable. Unfortunately, people can't turn back," the man said with a regretful voice. "You missed it, you missed it. No matter how high your martial arts or how deep your cultivation is, it can't make up for it." Fang Yan nodded and said, "I didn't think you would want to see me at this time. Even I find it hard to believe because I found that the only person I can trust in this world is you." "I believe you," Fang Yan said. "You have experienced too much killing and betrayal and you are constantly betraying others. It's not easy to find someone you can trust by your side. I have two people to choose from. One is the eldest daughter of the Qin family and the other is you. The eldest daughter of the Qin family is my business partner, and she is also the person I should ask for payment. However, compared to her, I am still more willing to trust you. She is a merchant. The world of merchants is too shrewd. I don't have too much confidence in them. But you are different from them." The man looked at Fang Yan seriously and said, "You are a true citizen of Swallow Dock. Swallow Dock has stood tall for thousands of years. Naturally, there is a reason for its existence. If you think about it carefully, there is also a reason. Apart from me, an outsider who has always been difficult to integrate with, who else has done anything that is shameful to Swallow Dock? The friends around you, they are also your true friends. In the past and in the future. I can see this and I am very envious of you. Sometimes I often think if I had a friend by my side, a friend I can drink with, maybe my life would be very different." The man didn't continue and Fang Yan also didn't continue. At that time Fang Yan had friends, but at that time he was alone. He ate alone, read alone, took a walk alone and did everything by himself. And his friends, led by Fang Yan, subconsciously rejected him. They always felt that he was not a citizen of Swallow Dock and was not on their side. However, no one thought that what was originally just a group of children's fun would eventually lead to such a terrible ending. After pondering for a long time, Fang Yan asked, "What do you want me to do?" "I want you to take care of my family," the man said, "especially my sister Bai Jie. She is too young and too beautiful. Beautiful girls always attract all kinds of trouble. Originally, I should have done this myself. As her brother, this kind of thing is in my nature. Unfortunately, I don't have the chance." Fang Yan raised his eyebrows and asked, "Why me?" "Because I believe in you," the man said, "and you have always been doing that." "You saw it all?" Fang Yan asked. The first time was told to me by the people I arranged here, and the other time I saw it with my own eyes. Aren't you afraid that I deliberately put on a show to lure you out? If it was someone else, I would naturally think so. The man looked confident. But that person is you. I won't have that kind of doubt. You are not putting on a show. You are really concerned about her and taking care of her. I saw your expression when you were angry for her. I saw the way you looked at her. You treat her as your sister. Maybe it's because you think she is really pitiful. So, the man's voice became hoarse as if mixed with a vague nasal sound. I beg you, brother, what are you two talking about? Bai Jie came out with 2 bowls of sour noodle soup on a tray. Eat quickly, it won't taste good when it's cold. The man quickly got up and took the tray from Bai Jie's hand and said reproachfully, don't you know how to take out bowls by bowls? What if you get scalded? Brother, I often help Grandpa with his work. How can I get scalded? You are so stupid. Bai Jie said, rolling her eyes. The man put a bowl of noodle soup in front of Fang Yan, and then put the other bowl in front of himself. He added a lot of chili oil to the noodle soup, and almost poured half the bottle of chili oil into his bowl. Then he buried his head in the food and began to eat heartily. His forehead was covered with sweat and his face was red because of the spiciness. His eyes were moist and then big drops of tears fell into the bowl of sour noodle soup. Chapter 855. Bai Jie took the bowl of noodles into the kitchen. When she came out again, her brother had disappeared. Bai Jie didn't react at the time. She looked at Fang Yan with a smile and said, Brother Fang Yan, do you have something to do in Beijing this time? Our school has a party tomorrow night. Do you want to go see? Fang Yan shook his head and said, I'm afraid I don't have time. Are you busy recently? Yes. Fang Yan nodded with a smile and said, I'm busy getting married. But, the girl exclaimed. She was still a student. The world that she could touch was only the school and this Xiao noodle house. No one told her about Fang Yan's breakthrough into the water overflow state or the fact that Fang Yan had defeated the dragon god. These 2 things were obviously only known by people who reached a certain level. Bai Jie was just the daughter of a noodle house owner. She didn't know the source of the big news. Recently, Grandpa Long didn't come to their noodle house to eat noodles. She couldn't find out about Fang Yan. Therefore, when she heard that Fang Yan was getting married, the girl had such a big reaction. Seeing Fang Yan's puzzled look, Bai Jie also knew that her emotions were fluctuating too much. She explained with a red face, Brother Fang Yan, you're getting married? When did this happen? Why haven't I heard you mention it before? It's been a while. Fang Yan said with a smile. The wedding is in these 2 days. After a pause, Fang Yan looked at Bai Jie's fair face and said, I won't specially send you an invitation. I'll get someone to pick you up. You should also go and have some fun. Brother Fang Yan, I'll definitely go to your wedding. Bai Jie's voice was a bit flustered and her emotions were a bit complicated. I'm afraid that we still have classes that day. It's not convenient to ask for leave now. Fang Yan smiled and said, I'll help you ask for leave. Big brother Fang Yan. Bai Jie's nose turned sour. In order to change the topic, she looked around and asked, Where's my brother? Where did he go? Fang Yan looked at Bai Jie and didn't answer her question. Bai Jie's face instantly paled, asking, Hi big brother, did he leave again? Yes. Fang Yan nodded solemnly. He looked at Bai Jie and said, Your big brother still has important things to do. He ate the sour noodle soup you made, so now he is full of courage and motivation. When he left, he told me to take good care of you. Brother, Bai Jie chased him out of the old street. The street was a vast expanse of whiteness. That familiar and warm figure was nowhere to be seen. Big brother, Bai Jie shouted from the middle of the street. The cold wind whistled and snowflakes danced in the air. Her voice was blown away by the cold wind and frozen by the frozen snow. It turned into an indistinct whimper. Big brother, she squatted on the gorgeous white carpet, hugging her head with both hands and crying out loud. There was no end to the long white carpet, as if no one knew when the end of the snowstorm would be. Fang Yan stood at the entrance of the noodle shop, looking at the sad Bai Jie, but didn't know how to comfort her. Big brother Fang Yan. Bai Jie looked at Fang Yan with tearful eyes and said, My big brother, is he never coming back? Why do you think so? The last time he left, he told me that he would come back soon. This time he didn't say anything. Not saying anything proves that he doesn't dare to say anything. After old Master Shifu returned from the Qin clan, he gathered all the family members to his study for a small meeting. After half an hour the meeting was over. However, the faces of the descendants of the Jiang family who came out weren't very good. Obviously the meeting went well, but it wasn't enough to satisfy these people. Then old Master Jiang Shifu locked himself in his room alone and refused everyone's request to go in and talk to him. At 3 o'clock in the afternoon, the old butler by Grandfather Shifu's side pushed open the door and entered Grandfather Shifu's study. Bai Xiu went to the police station to turn himself in. The old butler respectfully stood in front of Grandfather Shifu, looking at the master he had served for decades lying there with his eyes wide open, like a dying patient waiting for the last moment to arrive. His life was limitless and his achievements were limitless. But he didn't expect that when he was old he would suffer a crushing defeat. His body once contained a huge amount of energy, and in the old butler's view, that kind of energy could destroy the world. But now it was being drained bit by bit and finally became an old man who was no different from other old men. I've asked around. He has information on young Master Junling, young Master Juanxing, and a lot of information on our Jiang family. This information is all fatal, directly pointing out that we have a close relationship with that terrorist organization. The old steward's words were very serious, causing old man Shifu to only blink his eyes. Everything else is easy to deal with. The shameful things that Junling and Junxing did, that's their personal business. The most fatal is the information in his hands. They consciously dragged the Jiang family into this, wanting to prove that those terrorist organizations were directly supported and covered by the Jiang family. He did indeed get some transfer data from the account in Iceland to the base. Even if we cleaned up the matter in Iceland in time, I'm afraid that the Qin family has already gathered more evidence. They came prepared and dug a trap for us to jump into. This kind of thing naturally needs to be done flawlessly. Is General Xing dead? Grandfather Shifu opened his mouth to ask. I'm not sure yet. The old butler shook his head and said, I've sent everyone out and there hasn't been any reply until now. In any case, the police didn't see General Xing's figure, otherwise we would have definitely received the news. Whether he's dead or alive, it doesn't matter anymore. Jiang Shifu's voice was weak as he said, this time, it was the little princess of the Qin family who came to the table. She naturally took the opponent's reaction into consideration. You can't clean up the matter in Iceland before they launched this attack. They had already copied all the information there. Master, this is what that little princess told me herself. Grandfather Shifu said with a serious expression. I went to the Qin family, but I didn't see that old friend of the Qin family, and I didn't see Li Xinyan, only this little princess. It was this little princess who represented the Qin family in negotiating with me. The Qin family is obviously willing to accept the results of our negotiations. She's smart, but she's still a girl, so when she plays cards she likes to hide her cards and won't bet all her chips at once. This time they made such a big scene and didn't hesitate to instigate Bai Xiu to defect. Isn't it to defeat our Jiang family? If we don't lower our heads this time, General Xing will never show himself. A person who won't show himself, how many things can he do while hiding behind the scenes? If that's the case, our Jiang family will never have a day of peace. Master, then now we wait. Grandfather Shifu knew what this old partner of his was going to ask. Just wait. Our chance of survival isn't here. The Jiang family no longer has the ability to save ourselves. Jiang Junling can't, the general can't, and those people outside can't either. Our chance of survival is outside and it's on its way here. Master, why did we lose? Jiang Shifu suddenly asked. Master. The old butler looked at his master in surprise, not understanding why he would suddenly ask such a question. Why did we lose? Jiang Shifu asked again. I've been thinking about it since last night all the way until now. How did we lose? At 5 in the afternoon, the tigress came back from outside, covered in snow. Jiang Xianxia also came back with the tigress. This girl who had run away from the Jiang family walked into the Jiang family's ancestral home once again. As for the things that had happened in between, neither party was willing to talk about it easily. Along the way, Jiang Xianxia greeted every member of the Jiang family that she met. Her uncles, aunts, brothers and sisters were all very affectionate. However, the way they looked at her was strange, and there was an unconcealable sharpness in their eyes. They are still not satisfied. Jiang Xianxia thought in her heart. Miss Xianxia, master is still waiting for you in the study. The tigress reminded her softly. Xianxia nodded and smiled. Then let's go in and see Grandpa first. I haven't been back for a long time and I really miss him. After waving goodbye to Xianxia and the rest, she sauntered into old Master Jiang Shifu's study room in her high heels. When the tigress pushed the door open and entered, Jiang Shifu was resting with his eyes closed. She knocked on the door gently and said softly, "Master, Miss Xianxia is back." The moment Jiang Shifu opened his eyes, he was momentarily stunned. Then he finally reacted. He rubbed his face and wanted to get up from the sofa, but his body fell back down weakly. He was a little flustered, like a person about to drown, unable to grab hold of anything that he could borrow strength from. He was simply too weak and exhausted. "Grandpa." Jiang Xianxia hurried over, grabbed the old man's hand and helped him up from the sofa. "Xianxia is back." There was a mouthful of phlegm in the old man's mouth, and when he spoke it made a loud noise. "Grandpa, I'm back," Jiang Xianxia said with reddened eyes. "I came back to see you. Xianxia, the Jiang family is finished." Grandfather Shifu looked at Jiang Xianxia and said, "The Jiang family is finished. You have to save the Jiang family." "Grandpa, I am afraid that I can't save them," Jiang Xianxia said with tears flowing down her face. "So many people can't save them, I am afraid that I can't save them either." Jiang Shifu smiled and shook his head. He held Jiang Xianxia's hand tightly and said, "No one can save the Jiang family, only you can." Chapter 856. The cold wind howled and snow flew everywhere. The courtyard of the old house had long been filled with a thick layer of snow. If it was in the past, everyone would have already shoveled the snow to one side to prevent the flowers and vegetables planted by old Master Shifu from freezing. However, the house was full of people today, but no one thought of this. Some were drinking tea and some were smoking at the door. The atmosphere in the courtyard was very intimate, but everyone still felt that their bodies were bone-chilling. They had held a small meeting, or rather they had listened to someone hold a small meeting. No one had a chance to speak, and the only one who could give orders was the old master. The outcome was very unsatisfactory. He actually had to make such a stupid decision. If he did as he said, what would happen to them? Would the Jiang family still be the Jiang family? The Jiang family is going to fall apart. This was what every descendant of the Jiang family thought in their hearts. They looked at each other and shook their heads. They knew the old master's character too well. Once he had decided on something, it would be very difficult to change his mind. It had to be said that Qin Etian, the new player, had a pretty good playing style. She was aggressive and it was impossible to defend against. Most importantly, she didn't care about the minor details. She did her best to hurt her opponent and preserve her own strength. After a series of attacks, the Jiang family was indeed under a lot of pressure. Especially after hearing about the things that Bai Xiu had in his hands, the last bit of hope in the old master's heart disappeared. "Xianxia, I know that the Jiang family owes you, and so do I." Old Master Jiang Shifu held Jiang Xianxia's hand tightly and said, "But no matter what, you are still a member of the Jiang family. The blood of the Jiang family flows in your bones, the same blood that flows in mine. Grandpa, I want to help you, I want to save the Jiang family." Jiang Xianxia's face was full of tears as she said, "Tell me, how can I save the Jiang family?" Old Master Jiang was full of smiles and said, "I knew that you wouldn't abandon the Jiang family." He let go of Jiang Xianxia's hand, walked to the desk, opened the drawer and took out a folder. He handed it to Jiang Xianxia and said, "Take a look. If there are no other comments, sign at the back." Jiang Xianxia opened the folder and took out the information inside. "Grandpa," Jiang Xianxia exclaimed, "you want me to take over the Jiang family?" "You are right." Old Master Jiang Shifu nodded. "This is the best way and also the only way. But uncle and uncle, if they could protect the Jiang family's foundation, I wouldn't have made such a decision." Jiang Shifu said honestly. "Any one of them can resolve the current crisis. I don't need to make such a decision. Jiang Xianxia family, Jiang Xianxia. Jiang family. Jiang. Of Jiang. Jiang. Jiang family, Jiang. Jiang of Jiang. Jiang of Jiang. A Jiang of Jiang. I understand the relationship between you and Fang Yan, and I also understand the feelings between the two of you. I'm not asking you to betray him because the cost of doing so is too great. The Jiang family, The Jiang family has already proven the strength of their opponent. I just want you to maintain your independence. You have to protect the foundation of the general family, which is to protect your own career. In that case you will have a greater say in Fang Yan. Most women like to rely on men, but there are some women who can be on par with men or even above all men in the world. For example, Qin Yitian and you. Grandpa, if you agree you can sign it. Old man Jiang Shifu waved his hand, looking incomparably tired, and said, I still have to tell those good-for-nothings. So that they don't act recklessly and cause trouble everywhere. Jiang Shangxin thought for a moment and signed his name on the back of the document. Let them in. Jiang Shifu said. Jiang Shangxin left and the group of people from the Jiang family entered. The people of the Jiang family came in and the people of the Jiang family left. From then on, no one was able to enter Jiang Shifu's study. Old man Jiang Shifu sent word that he wanted to have a good rest and no one was allowed to disturb him. When dinner was ready, the old butler went to invite old man Jiang Shifu out for dinner. He shouted for a long time but no one responded. When he went in, he saw his entire body lying on the floor beside the sofa. His body was bent and twisted, looking like a steamed prawn. He choked to death on the phlegm in his throat. When someone returned, he would walk on the path of glory. When someone went far away, there would be no more news. Bai Xiu went to the police station to turn himself in. If there were no accidents, it would be difficult for him to come out for the rest of his life. Furthermore, based on the things he confessed, he might soon be subjected to the cruelest punishment. Perhaps, to him, that kind of punishment was also a form of release. Bai Xiu used his own death to nail the Jiang family to the pillar of shame for colluding with a terrorist organization. The more serious the crime that Bai Xiu admitted to, the more miserable the fate of the Jiang family would be. Qin Yitian would not give him any chance to regret or betray. All he could do was to continue acting according to the script that Qin Yitian gave him. He was a pawn, a dead soldier. His fate was miserable and he deserved it. Everyone had their own unique fate. Sometimes just a blink of an eye could change one's entire life. Fang Yan went to the Qin family's old residence to visit Qin Yitian, but the one who came out to receive him was Li Xinyan. This gorgeous and noble woman who made people feel respect was not very enthusiastic towards Fang Yan. In fact, she was even colder than the last time they met. Li Xinyan liked to drink coffee. She liked the rich aroma. Gently stirring the liquid in the cup, she looked at Fang Yan sitting across from her and said, Did you come to say thank you? I am indeed very grateful to the Qin family. If it wasn't for the Qin family's help this time, I don't think things would have been resolved so quickly, and there wouldn't have been such a satisfactory solution. Li Xinyan interrupted Fang Yan's words and said, You're mistaken. The person who helped you was Qin Yitian, not the Qin family. The Qin family did not intend to help you without any bottom line, because this is not the most advantageous choice for the Qin family. I understand. Fang Yan said with a sincere expression. You represent the Qin family, so when I see you I have to thank the Qin family. When I see Yitian I will personally thank her. Fang Yan. Li Xinyan's beautiful eyes thoughtfully looked at Fang Yan and said, You have achieved success at such a young age. At such a young age you already have such a high level of cultivation. Soon you will marry a beautiful wife and become a celestial couple. On the wedding night during the imperial examination you have achieved both, right? Fang Yan was silent. He didn't know how to continue this topic. Li Xinyan sighed softly and said, Seeing Fang Yan will ruin your entire life. Since you chose to give up in the end, why bother continuing? Fang Yan opened his mouth but still couldn't say anything. He stood up, bowed deeply to Li Xinyan, then turned around and walked outside. Li Xinyan looked at his back and thought for a long time, then ordered the servant next to him, Invite the young lady over for coffee. The servant left, then quickly ran back and said, Madam, the young lady has gone out. Li Xinyan frowned and said, It can't be cut and it's messy. When Fang Yan's car was about to enter the city, it was stopped. Seeing the extended version of the Rolls-Royce luxury car, Fang Yan's depressed mood immediately became better. The roof of the car was already covered in a layer of snow. It seems like this car has been waiting in the snow for a long time. The back door of the car was opened by Mu Ying. A girl wearing a red down jacket, a red wool hat and a thick towel around her neck stepped out of the car. She stood in the snow, looking even whiter and brighter than the thousands of miles of snow. She waved at Fang Yan and said, Mr. Fang, let's go see the snow. Fang Yan opened the car door and walked towards Qin Yitian. Why are you here? Fang Yan asked aloud. Waiting for you. The girl answered matter-of-factly. I just went to the Qin family's old house. I wanted to say thank you in person. Qin Yitian picked up a snowball from the ground and threw it at Fang Yan. She giggled and shouted, Come, let's have a snowball fight. You have to be careful, I'm very powerful. Fang Yan was stunned for a moment, then he bent down and grabbed a handful of snow from the ground and threw it at Qin Yitian, who was running away. One was running in front and the other was chasing behind. They were laughing and snowballs were flying everywhere. It was as if they had no worries. Mu Ying stood next to the motorcade, watching the scene in front of him with a worried face. In this world, there was actually someone who could refuse the young lady of the Qin family. What was wrong with this world? The sky was getting dark and Fang Yan was finally going back to Swallow Dock. Qin Yitian stood next to Fang Yan's car, her gem-like eyes staring at Fang Yan without blinking. She said, Mr. Fang, I may not be able to attend your wedding, but I've already sent someone to send a gift. Yitian. Fang Yan's heart tightened. This feeling made him feel like he was about to suffocate. Although he was already a water overflow state master, his cultivation couldn't make his heart feel at ease at this moment. The girl's delicate and flawless face looked at Fang Yan. Her lips moved and she said in a barely audible voice, You must be happy. Chapter 857. From the 6th of the 12th lunar month onwards, Swallow Dock became busy. This wasn't just a joyous occasion for the Fang family, but for all of Swallow Dock. A sect with 3 heavenly Dao was something unheard of in Swallow Dock, the reclusive leader of the inner pugilistic world. Furthermore, there was an elusive and transparent dog. The people of the inner pugilistic world were all knowledgeable people. They could tell its true strength from its minute actions. According to Swallow Dock's tradition, every time someone stepped into the heavenly Dao realm, the entire village would celebrate for 7 days. It just so happened that Fang Yan was getting married to Yi Rou. The marriage of 2 heavenly Dao realm experts was a joyous occasion that couldn't be celebrated for any length of time. Fang Yan's grandparents came ahead of time. Lu Gong was still thin and lean. He patted Fang Yan on the shoulder and said with a laugh, Finally, there's someone who can control you. Let's see if you still dare to be so lawless in the future. Instead, it was his grandmother who pulled Fang Yan's hand to a corner and asked softly, Did Chaoga give an explanation for your marriage with Wenrou? I wonder what the child has been busy with recently. She hasn't visited us in a while. Did something happen? Previously, the general family had been pressing hard on them. The Chaoyan technology that Lu Chaoga represented, as well as the Flower City enterprises that she led, had suffered a huge blow. They could be devoured or disintegrated at any moment. Back then, Lu Chaoga had been abnormally busy and was under immense pressure. She had no way of diverting her attention to visit the 2 elders. It would be bad if they noticed Lu Chaoga's impatient mood. Fang Yan patted his grandmother's hand and said with a smile, I spoke to her on the phone and invited her to attend my wedding. She said that she's been too busy with work recently and has too many things to handle. However, I'll be heading to Flower City soon. When the time comes, I'll bring her along to visit you. Fang Yan, what's going on? His grandmother looked at Fang Yan in confusion. She was confused by the complicated relationship. Fang Yan smiled awkwardly and said, Grandmother, let me explain it to you slowly. Grandma nodded and said, Don't let the girl down. I know. Fang Yan nodded seriously. Pitter-patter. The sound of firecrackers rang out again from outside. Zhou Mingli was playing with firecrackers outside with a group of kids from Swallow Dock. Fang Yan's aunt Fang Yijing ran out of her sister-in-law Lu Wan's room and shouted, Zhou Mingli, you're being naughty again. Fang Yan turned around to stop his aunt and said with a smile, Auntie, it's okay. Let them play. I'll chase them into the forest at the back. Fang Yijing smiled and said, There are so many guests at home. It'll affect people's conversation. The last time Fang Yijing came back, her husband Zhou Fan and son Zhou Mingli did not get along well with Fang Yan, which made her feel terrible. No matter what, this was his home. If her husband and son looked down on her home, it would be a slap to her face. However, some things happened later on. His son Zhou Mingli was completely subdued by Fang Yan. His husband also realized the depth of the Fang family's foundation. It was a bit unscrupulous, but the Fang clan could prosper under Fang Yan's leadership. As a married woman, she could live with more confidence in her husband's family. That's fine. Fang Yan did not care about this and said, listen to Auntie. Zhou Fan came back with a group of people. It was snowing outside, but his face was red and there were beads of sweat on his forehead. Unload the goods on the cart. Everyone be careful. Put the valuables in the house in the backyard. We'll have to carry the burden to the Yi clan. Yi Fengxing red cloth. Pay attention to the corner of the cloth. Don't step on it. It'll be wasted if you step on it. Zhou Xian, what are you doing? Put the 2 carps in the tank. Don't let them die. You can't find a bigger carp. Wanjing, come and help carry these steamed buns. Zhou Fan was Lu Wan's assistant and also the housekeeper of Fang Yan's wedding. If Lu Wan was too busy or it was inconvenient for her to show up, he would bring a group of young people to help. Uncle, sit down and have a cup of tea. Fang Yan said. I'm not tired. Zhou Fan waved his hand. The big day is getting closer and closer. Everything has to be prepared. This is the biggest event in life. We can't be careless. We can't be careless. Without saying anything to Fang Yan, he turned and ran to the backyard. Mo Qingdi accompanied Fang Hui to entertain the guests. The teacher and some respectable elders of Swallow Dock were drinking tea and chatting in the room of the old man. From time to time, Fang Hui's hearty laughter could be heard. It seemed that the old man was in a good mood. Everyone was busy except for Fang Yan himself. Fang Yan was the groom of this wedding, but he was the most leisurely person in this wedding. On the 7th of December, more guests arrived at Swallow Dock. The current headmaster of Rosefinch Secondary, Zhong Dei, and the former headmaster of Rosefinch Secondary, Zhang Xiaofeng, came together. Li Mingqiang, the former dean of Rosefinch Secondary and the current vice-headmaster, also came together. He grabbed Fang Yan's hand and refused to let go. With red eyes, he said, Mr. Fang, I haven't seen you for a long time. You're not here. Everyone is fine when you're not in Rosefinch. Baldy, Fang Yan's confidant, also came. Baldy came with his girlfriend. Baldy and Li Ahua from the logistics department of the school confirmed their relationship. It was said that they were ready to get married at the beginning of next year. When Fang Yan saw Baldy, he gave him a big hug. Baldy, who was wearing a suit and tie, couldn't stop shaking. He stammered that Yanjing was too cold and he wasn't prepared. Li Ahua looked simple and seemed to be a good woman who lived at home. She just looked at Fang Yan and grinned but didn't dare to greet Fang Yan. Xiaoming also came. She came on behalf of Lu Chaoga. She brought Lu Chaoga's gifts, a set of keys to a villa in Yanjing and a Ferrari car key. The villa was bought a long time ago and even the decoration had been completed. The car was ordered from abroad before and it could be delivered on the day of the wedding. Lu Chaoga was considerate. When Xiaoming saw Fang Yan, she wanted to say something but stopped on second thought. She whispered, Mr. Fang, I think Headmaster Lu. What's wrong with Headmaster Lu? Fang Yan asked. Xiaoming thought for a while and said, I think she might be a little uncomfortable. Fang Yan thought for a while and said, I'll talk to her on the phone again. Xiaoming nodded with a red face and said, Mr. Fang, congratulations. I wish you a long life together and 100 years of happiness. Xiaoming, I also wish you find your Prince Charming soon. Fang Yan patted Xiaoming's shoulder and said with a serious face. Xiaoming nodded again and again, but there was a trace of melancholy in her heart that was difficult to dispel. On the 8th day of the 12th lunar month, the sky was still dusky, but the giant beast of Swallow Dock had already woken up. Countless people woke up from all corners and then rushed to the Fang family or the Yi family. Today's wind and snow were even stronger, and it was also the day of the wedding. On the auspicious day, the man would go to the woman's house to marry the bride. Because the Fang and Yi families were adjacent, 8 sedan chairs were used for the wedding. According to the plan, they had to circle around Swallow Dock before entering the Fang family's gate. The sky was still bright and Fang Yan had already been pulled up by his great aunts. A group of people put on all kinds of makeup on his face and body. This was even more nervous than when he faced the dragon god. Then a group of people blew and beat, lifted the sedan chair, returned to the carriage and horses, welcomed the sedan chair, alighted from the sedan chair, worshipped heaven and earth, performed the ceremony of marriage and entered the bridal chamber. The whole process was tedious and festive, and Fang Yan became a puppet without consciousness. Other than giggling and being manipulated, he had no consciousness of his own. According to the previous discussion between the Fong and Yi families, the Yi family would hold a banquet to entertain the guests in the morning, and the Fong family would hold a banquet to entertain the guests in the evening. Otherwise, if the two families held it at the same time, the neighbors of Swallow Dock and the guests from outside would be too busy to know which family to go to. Fong Yan thought it made sense. If the two families held it at the same time, each family could only receive one congratulatory gift. Of course, with Fong Yan's current net worth, he didn't care about this, but it was still necessary for more people to gather together and be lively. The Yi family's daughter was getting married and the Fong family's Fong Yan was getting married. This was a big event in the eyes of many people. Du Qing, who had just been released from prison, came. This burly man hugged Fong Yan tightly for a while, then laughed and stuffed a big gift box into his hands. The tall and beautiful Li Ye stood beside Du Qing with a smile on her face. The tall and skinny Fong Haohan stood beside Li Ye with a silly smile on his face. Compared to before, Li Ye's attitude towards Fong Haohan had improved a lot. In the past she would directly chase him away, but now she only treated him as if he was invisible. Fong Yingying also came back alone. The policewoman he had his eyes on had officially entered a relationship with him, but their relationship wasn't strong enough. As the spring festival was approaching, it wasn't convenient for him to bring a girl home for the festival, mainly because the girl was unwilling. Fong Yan sighed in his heart. How could the relationship between his two little martial nephews be so bumpy? Summer came, and at the same time as summer were the two young ladies, Jiang Qin and Yuan Lin. The arrival of the three of them caused a commotion in Swallow Dock. After all, there were fans in every field. Summer was originally a celebrity, and as the Arasima group became more and more popular, Jiang Qin and Yuan Lin also became more and more popular with the audience. Yuan Lin looked at Fong Yan with a face full of smiles and said, "Mr. Fong, congratulations. I didn't think I would have to say this to you so soon." Jiang Qin forced a smile. He opened his mouth as if he wanted to say something, but nothing came out. She stepped forward and hugged Fong Yan, and her eyes instantly became moist. Fong Yan gently hugged the girl's increasingly mature body and said with a smile, "I know you are very busy now. I'm very happy that you can come. No matter what, I have to come," Jiang Qin said in a low voice. Then, when no one was paying attention, she ruthlessly bit Fong Yan's neck. She was worried that leaving a lip mark would be bad for Fong Yan, so she quickly gave up such an action. Summer sighed softly and said, "It's been hard on these two girls. I don't even know if it was the right decision to bring them out back then. If they stayed by your side, would it be better?" Fong Yan looked at Summer and said with a smile, "How can there be such a thing as if in this matter?" Summer sighed softly and pulled Yuan Lin and Jiang Qin toward the women's lounge at the back. Other than Jiang Zhulu, the important figures of the other three major clans of Flower City all rushed over. The Lan clan sent Lan Mountain Valley, the Lu clan sent Lu Shu, and the Mei clan sent Meiyingxue. There were also some rich and powerful clans of Flower City who wanted to build a relationship with the three major clans or rely on their relationship with the three major clans to build a relationship with Fong Yan. From now on, Fong Yan's words would carry enormous weight in Flower City, and no one would be able to compete with him. Tangqing came. After Fong Yan left Rosefinch, Tangqing also dropped out of school and went to the open land in the northwest to train. This time he also rushed back from afar for Fong Yan's wedding. Tibasun also came. He came with Du Qing and Li Ye. With Du Qing's care, she should be able to find the life she wanted in Flower City. Gong Sun Qi came. Gong Sun Qi's gift was the demon-slaying sword that Master Dragon God had worked hard to obtain. Master said that the sword is a weapon of murder and is not suitable as a wedding gift. But we don't care about trifles. This sword is called demon slaying and has the meaning of slaying demons and devils. Master said that this sword is a good sword. This sword fell in your hands and I hope that it will rise again in your hands. Fong Yan quickly took the sword and thanked Gong Sun Qi again and again. He said that after the wedding he would go with Yi Ro to thank Master Dragon God. The young chief also came. He first went to the Yi clan, then to the Fong clan. After sitting down and drinking a cup of tea with old Master Fong Hui and Master Fong, he bid farewell to the newlyweds. He was busy every day and it was a great honor for him to take time out to attend a wedding. All the important figures of the Yi clan had returned, especially the second and third sons of the Yi clan, who held high positions outside. The guests who came to congratulate the wedding were all high-ranking officials and celebrities. and the convoy lined up from Swallow Dock to the outer ring of Yanjing City. Jiang Shangxin had sent her trusted aide to the Jiang family, and the news of Jiang Shangxin becoming the helmsman of the Jiang family had already spread. However, because old master Jiang Shifu had passed away, the Jiang family was also holding a funeral. According to tradition, people in mourning were not allowed to attend other people's weddings, so Jiang Shangxin explained this matter to Fang Yan in advance. Fang Yan naturally expressed his understanding. He knew that Jiang Shangxin was a smart woman and smart women always knew what was needed. When Jiang Shangxin took over, the Jiang family was no longer a threat to him. Qin Dongling from the Qin family came. Qin Dongling was Qin Etienne's uncle and also an important figure in the Qin family. He was giving Fang Yan a lot of face by sending him a gift. There were friends of Fang Yan and friends of Fang Yan's friends. There were even some people from the inner world who came under fake names, saying that they were there to witness the biggest event in the inner world. The marriage of two heavenly Dao realm experts was something that had never happened before in the inner world. Ho Zhendong, the martial arts fanatic, came clamoring to compete with Fang Yan again. Lin Puyang, the flower fanatic, came as well. Fang Yan asked him to help carve the flowers. Lu Shuiyun, the music fanatic, came as well. She was the guest performer for the wedding. Fang Yan's monk and Taoist master came as well. The Tao master didn't come, but he wrote a match made in heaven calligraphy for Fang Yan and got someone to send it over. There were guests that Fang Yan knew, but most of them were guests that Fang Yan didn't know. This wedding connected the business, political and martial worlds. When people talked about it, they called it a miracle in the history of wedding ceremonies. The sky was gloomy and the land was like a brocade. Qin Etienne, who was dressed in a red gown, stood in front of a huge floor-to-ceiling window. She looked at the howling wind and fluttering snow outside, pondering for a long time. She held a glass of red wine in her hand. In the past, Qin Etienne didn't drink alcohol. Most of the time she would drink milk or fruit juice. However, her mood today clearly wasn't suitable for that. She didn't stay at her Fragrant Hills villa because it was too cold. She didn't return to the Qin family mansion because she didn't wish to speak. She was even more afraid of being consoled by others. She didn't want to go to a bar or a coffee shop. She didn't want to go anywhere. She stood there for a very, very long time, so long that Mu Ying, who was behind her, was worried that she would be frozen into an ice sculpture by the wind and snow just a window away. Is it there? Qin Etienne extended a slender finger and pointed in a direction. The question was baffling, but Mu Ying knew the answer. He nodded and said, "Yes, it's there." Qin Etienne tried her best to look in that direction, but the wind was too strong and the snow was too heavy, blocking her vision. The distance she could see was very limited. "Why is it so dark over there?" Qin Etienne asked. She was referring to the edge of the city, where there was a road leading to Swallow Dock. The road leading to Swallow Dock had just been repaired, but there were no street lights. The more remote the area was, the fewer lights there were. Because, Mu Ying opened his mouth, but he didn't know how to explain. He knew that Miss Qin knew the answer to this question. "There must be light," Qin Etienne said. Mu Ying thought for a moment and said, "Yes, I understand." Mu Ying took out his cell phone from his pocket and made a call. Soon, in front of their eyes, under their gaze, a long line of lights spread toward the edge of the city. It was the result of all the businesses under the Qin family and those related to the Qin family turning on their lights at the same time. In the farthest darkness, a firework flew into the sky with a long tail. Pa! The firework bloomed high in the sky, stunning the entire night sky with its colorful colors. Crack, crack! Countless fireworks rushed into the night sky at the same time, as if there were countless flowers blooming in the sky. It was overwhelming, lively and prosperous. A smile finally blossomed on that flawless face. She said softly, "The liveliness is theirs. I have nothing." Chapter 858. Redwall. Mystic Department. The fragrance of tea wafted everywhere, but no one lifted it to drink. The young chief looked at the old man sitting opposite him and said in an extremely respectful tone, "Sir, are you really going to let him go just like that? Aren't you going to reconsider?" Sir laughed out loud and said, "You speak as though it's a huge piece of fragrant steamed bun. Back then I didn't want to enter, but Elder Zhu pulled me in. Now that I'm leaving, are you not going to let him go?" The young chief looked at the old man apologetically and said, I heard from Elder Zhu that back then, you had the chance to step into the heavenly Tao realm, but your mental barrier was to sever all ties with the mortal world. You weren't willing to return to seclusion, so you retracted the foot you had taken. This delay lasted for dozens of years. The country owes Swallow Dock and even more owes you. It's all fate. Sir smiled and waved his hand. With a nonchalant look he said, it's fate that they were born in Swallow Dock. It's also fate that I became Swallow Dock, sir. I was at fault regarding Bai Xiu's matter. I had long wanted to resign, but it was an eventful period for Swallow Dock. Now that peace has returned, I naturally have to leave. I'll use the remaining time to plant crops and pick up dung. Who knows, if I have no desires, I might be able to take that final step before I leave. Sir sighed lightly and said with a regretful tone, I've practiced martial arts all my life, but I can't go in and see what that world is like. I still feel indignant. I won't hold you back if you wish to leave, sir. But do you have a successor in mind, sir? This time, sir, you have to help keep a close watch. I originally had my eyes on Fang Yan, the teacher said aloud. The young chief laughed and said, the person I originally had in mind was Fang Yan, but it proves that the person you like now isn't him, right? How did that kid make you angry? I had a conversation with him a few days ago, Sir said. He wasn't willing? He didn't say he wasn't willing. Sir smiled helplessly. He ran away from home, Wang Yao said. What? This time even the young chief was shocked. Ran away? When did that happen? Forget it, don't worry about him. The teacher waved his hand again and said, this kind of immature, steady and irresponsible man would not be able to bear such a heavy responsibility. I have another candidate in mind. Who is it? The young chief asked. Don't underestimate the enemy, the teacher said. Do you think he's suitable? The teacher nodded with absolute certainty and said, there's no one more suitable than him. If he hadn't perished in the battle with the dragon god, I wouldn't have accepted Bai Xiu. The position of master should have been his 26 years ago. The young chief thought for a while and said, since you think it's possible, then don't underestimate the enemy. He didn't run away, did he? Leave him to guard the door. Even the dog he brought back ran away. Mr. praised. From this, it can be seen that the Azure Dragon, don't underestimate your enemy. You are a mature, responsible man. You are worthy of such a great responsibility. The young chief slapped the table and said, that's him. I'll call him and ask him to come see me. Monsieur grinned as if he had done a great thing. Fang Yan did run away. Not only did he run away but also his grandfather Fang Hui, his mother Lu Wan, his wife Yiro and Fang Yingying and Fang Haohan. There was also a dog. Fang Yan didn't want to take the dog but the dragon didn't get out of the car. Fang Hui glared at him and asked him to go out for some fresh air. So Fang Yan had to leave a seat for him in the car. Ever since his grandfather Fang Hui became crippled, he had never left Swallow Dock. When Fang Yan's father Fang Yixing was still alive, Lu Wan and her husband would go on a trip from time to time. After Fang Yixing passed away, Lu Wan had never gone out of the village in recent years. Moreover, since Fang Yan and Yi Ro were newly married, they should go on a honeymoon or something, right? So Fang Yan and Yi Ro discussed and simply drove a big car to the south. They had fun along the way and they would go wherever they went. They would let his grandfather and mother relax and see the scenery they had never noticed along the way. They went all the way to the south and their final destination was Huaqing. This was the happiest trip Fang Yan had ever had, and it was also the most comfortable days for him in so many years. In the past, Fang Yan had a heavy responsibility and a blood feud, so he had to be careful and try his best every step he took. Your bitch can't hide your ugliness. You are lonely like a dog on a cold night. This was the true portrayal of Fang Yan. Fang Yan was lonely, even lonely. No one was more tired than him, but he tried hard to smile. He wanted everyone to feel that he was a happy person when they saw him. So Yi Ro liked him, Qin Yitian liked him, Lu Chaoge liked him, Phoenix liked him, Jiang Qin liked him, Yi Fengxing liked him, Li Xiaotian liked him, and many other people liked him. He was a fun person and it was interesting to be friends with such a person. Wasn't that enough? Life was so f***ed up, so why did he have to put on a bitter face? Lu Wan was happy to see Fang Yan smiling like a child, and she secretly wiped her tears a few times. Yi Ro understood her mother-in-law's feelings and held her mother-in-law's hand tightly to comfort her every time. Life would get better and the days would get sweeter. That was what everyone in the Fang family thought. When the car neared the boundary of Huaqing and reached the exit of the highway toll station, they found more than 10 luxury cars parked outside. All of them were Bentleys, quietly leaning against the roadside, looking luxurious and low-key. After Fang Yan paid the toll, the railing was put down, and the doors of the Bentleys opened at the same time. Whoosh! One by one, men and women in luxurious clothes walked out of the cars. The leader was the big boss of Qingyun Corporation, Du Qing, and his goddaughter, Liya. After he got out of the car, he paused for a moment. Then Lu Shumi from Lanshan Valley signaled for this group of rich heirs to come out of the car. An unusually eye-catching woman also got out of the car at the same time. She was Jiang Shangxin, the current helmsman of the Jiang family. Fang Yan had never expected her to appear in the welcoming crowd. Following behind them were some forces that were attached to Qingyun Corporation or the few big families. They also tried to find a chance to be familiar with him. They heard that this most powerful young man in Huaqing had the habit of slapping people in the face. They thought that if they accidentally offended him in the future, he would at least show them some mercy on account of their previous meeting. Du Qing wanted to invite Jiang Shangxin and Lanshan Valley to walk in front. According to the strength of his disciples, they were far more powerful than his Qingyun Corporation. However, how could Jiang Shangxin and Lanshan Valley not know that Fang Yan and Du Qing were as close as brothers? In order to save his goddaughter, Du Qing surrendered himself to the police. In the end, he gritted his teeth and did not say a single bad word about Fang Yan. If he couldn't take it, Fang Yan would have been arrested and sent to the police station. How would he have the chance to seek help from the Yen capital? Hence, under the gaze of the toll booth staff and some passing drivers, a group of people walked towards a Buick MPV that was slowly driving out. Fang Yan stopped the car by the roadside and rolled down the car window to look at Du Qing and the rest. He smiled bitterly and said, "Is it too high profile? We were also worried about this, so we reduced the number of people several times. In the end, those who could come were those who couldn't be reduced anymore. If we reduced them any further, we wouldn't be able to come. Moreover, they were given the same cars and didn't drive too many sports cars. It seems to be considered low-key, right?" Jiang Shangxin saw the speechless look on Fang Yan's face. She smiled and said, "You and Miss Yi are on your honeymoon, and it's the first time that Old Master and Auntie Lu have returned to Huaqing in so many years. As the younger generation, we have to do our part, right?" "Exactly. If not for the fact that we didn't want to disturb your mood, we would have gone to the Yen capital to welcome you." Lanshan Valley laughed out loud. "Felt so good to bet on the right treasure. Everyone is a family and we don't have to be so distant. However, I still have to thank all of you." Fang Yan looked into everyone's eyes and said, "Besides, it feels good to be so ostentatious. It's not bad to come once in a while." Everyone laughed. Old Master Feng Hui and Lu Wan got out of the car to express their gratitude. Du Qing held Old Master Feng Hui's hand and said, "Old Master Feng, we have already arranged dinner. Shall we drink with you tonight?" "No." Old Master Feng Hui waved his hand and said, "2 glasses is not enough." Everyone laughed again. Ever since the rise of the Feng family, the depression in Old Master Feng Hui's heart was swept away. Now he was especially spirited and even looked younger than before. Jiang Shangxin and Li Ya's public relations target was Lu Wan, and they tried their best to show concern for her. On the contrary, Yi Ro was given the cold shoulder. Actually, it was mainly because no one dared to go near her. Yi Ro's personality was no different from before she got married. She was indifferent and had an expression that said, "I'm very cool and no one should talk to me." Fang Yan liked this about her. Not everyone could live a peaceful life like her. After accepting Du Qing's invitation, everyone went to have a welcoming dinner. After the dinner, Lan Shanggu said that he had already prepared accommodation for everyone. Yi Ro said, "There's no need for that, Fang Yan has a place in Huaqing." Lu Wan looked at Fang Yan and asked, "You bought a house in Huaqing?" "No." Fang Yan looked awkward and said, "It's that. I used to stay with someone else. It's clean and spacious. Let's stay there tonight." Yi Ro made her decision. When Lu Chaoge received Fang Yan's call, she was also shocked by this decision. She had never panicked like this even when she was being pressured by the Jiang family. She said anxiously, "Fang Yan, are you sure you want to stay here? Or do you want me to book a hotel for you?" Fang Yan smiled bitterly and said, "It's better to stay at your place. There are some things I should let you know." Lu Chaoge's voice trembled slightly. When Fang Yan drove his family over, Lu Chaoge was already waiting at the door. Fang Hui saw Lu Chaoge and said with a smile, "Good girl. It's been hard on you." Lu Wan went forward and held Lu Chaoge's hand and said, "Sorry to bother you. Don't mention it." Lu Chaoge was a little nervous. "Just treat it as your own home." Yi Rou and Lu Chaoge looked at each other and then walked away from her without any expression. Fang Yan walked to Lu Chaoge and said, "It's been hard on you." Lu Chaoge's eyes were red, but she quickly recovered and said softly, "I'm actually very happy that you can come. I thought this day would never come." Fang Yan held Lu Chaoge's hand and said, "Let's go in." The family sat down in the living room. The servants were busy making tea. Lu Chaoge stood in the middle and introduced the room arrangement. Mr. Fang lives on the east side of the third floor, where the air is the best. Aunt Lu lives on the west side of the third floor, where it's convenient to enjoy the moon. Miss Yi and Fang Yan live on the second floor where Fang Yan used to live. "You're pregnant." Yi Rou glanced at Lu Chaoge's belly as if nothing had happened and said softly. The living room fell into a dead silence. Everyone stared at Yi Rou with their eyes wide open, and then shifted their attention to Lu Chaoge. Miss Yi, you're pregnant," Yi Rou said again. His attitude was one that would not stop until his words shocked everyone to death. "It's Fang Yan's, isn't it?" Lu Chaoge's face was pale and she couldn't even speak clearly. Yi Rou yawned and said, "I'm tired. I'm going to bed." After that she got up and went upstairs. Fang Hui was stunned for a long time. He looked at Yi Rou's back and then at Lu Chaoge and grinned. "Good kids, all good kids. I'm old and can't stay up late. Hero, help me go upstairs. I wish the red flag will fly all over the world, and I'm afraid that even the sea of fire and the mountain of knives will rush forward. I can't wait to turn the flying snow into spring water. Ah 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 ah." Lu Wan looked at Lu Chaoge and asked anxiously, "Chaoge, is what Wen Rou said true?" It's not true." Lu Chaoge denied. Fang Yan looked at Lu Chaoge and said, "Just say it like it is. Don't hide it." Fang Yan. Lu Chaoge's eyes turned red and big tears flowed down. She said, "I don't want to. It's different from what I thought. I don't want to bring you any trouble. How about I go abroad? I'll take him abroad. We can go far away and no one can find us." "No." Lu Wan said resolutely. "You're a woman and now you're pregnant. Where do you want to go? You'll soon get pregnant. How can you take care of yourself at that time? Besides, if it's our child, we still have to bear the responsibility." Lu Wan pinched Fang Yan and said, "Fang Yan, what a good thing you've done. Say something." Fang Yan looked at Lu Chaoge and said, "You didn't go to Yanjing this time. I know you're hiding something from me. When Xiaoming talked to me, she wanted to say something but stopped on second thought. I've already guessed some of it. I've talked to Wen Rou about our things. Today she offered to live here and pointed out the fact that you're pregnant, which shows that she wants to accept this child. You don't have to go and no one else has to go. However, you have to put aside your work first. You can't work as hard as before. Have a good rest in the future." Lu Wan nodded repeatedly and said, "Yes. Have a good rest. I'll stay and take care of you." "Thank you." Lu Chaoge choked with sobs and said, "Thank you." Lu Wan's eyes also turned red. She held Lu Chaoge and said, "Silly girl, why are you saying thank you? It's us who should thank you. Our Fang family is sorry for you. There's a charity event at 10 o'clock this morning. Mr. Buffett and Mr. Bill will also attend. There's an economic conference at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. Premier Zhang specifically invited you to attend. You have to fly to Bo-Ao at 5 o'clock in the afternoon. You have a 15-minute speech at the GC conference at 8 o'clock. The woman in the white uniform raised her head from the magazine and said, "Cancel all the activities in the afternoon." "But Premier Zhang, let Mr. Lin go on my behalf." Yes, Mississippi, the secretary knew this young lady's style very well. If she said she would go no matter what. If she said she wouldn't go, she wouldn't go. Even if the premier invited her, she wouldn't go. "But miss, do you have any schedule in the afternoon?" The woman smiled and said, "I'm going to see someone secretly." "Is that person more important than the premier?" "Of course," the young woman said without hesitation. The car stopped on Maple Avenue. Qin Etienne in a white windbreaker opened the door and got off. He said to Muing, "You can go back. Withdraw all the people in the dark." "Miss, for your safety, Do you still need to worry about my safety when I'm with him? Mu Ying thought for a moment and gestured for the secretary to stop. He then got into the Rolls-Royce and left. The leaves were yellow and withered, and the ground was covered with maple leaves. The sound of high-heeled leather boots clicking on the leaves was like the sound of Qin Yitian's happy mood at the moment. It was another autumn. Qin Yitian liked autumn because the scenery in autumn looked golden and was a festive color. Ding, his phone rang in his pocket. Qin Yitian took out his phone and saw a message. Dragon's reverse scale. Qin Yitian's lips twitched and he replied with 4 words. Touch it and you'll die. Pa, a young man jumped down from the tree and said, the password is correct. Queen, please give me your mission. The mission is to go shopping with me. Qin Yitian reached out his hand and said. The young man walked over and held Qin Yitian's hand. Hey, what did the female overlord say when you came out? She said that although she can ignore what she doesn't see, you shouldn't go too far. Who wants to ask someone else's husband out 7 days a week? I don't care. Qin Yitian raised his head and said, she was the one who came to me and asked for a deal. She said that as long as I can help you defeat the generals, she'll turn a blind eye to what happened between us. Does she want to go back on her word now? She didn't go back on her word, it's just that she's pregnant, so it's inevitable that she'll be a bit emotional. She's pregnant? Yeah. Qin Yitian took Fang Yan's hand and turned to leave. Where are we going? Why should she get pregnant before I do? I don't accept this, I want to get pregnant too. And you're tuning in to the Zhou Xian's Legacy YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.